is an old sideboard from the 50s or 60s, and it's going to become one of our kitchen counters. We bought it for like, I don't know, 10, 15 quid or something like that from a junk shop. We're going to sand it down. We're going to put a temporary sink in place because we've got this old sink, and we're going to attach it to a temporary worktop. But we are going to prep this so that when we get the worktop that we actually want and the sink that we want, then it will all be ready for us to be able to just put those things in. The temporary top that we're putting on it is ply, because why not? We've got a lot of it. And I think that's about it. Oh, we're going to turn this into drawers. So there's not going to be these big doors on this sideboard. It's actually a really nice sideboard. You could just do it up as a good sideboard. We're going to put drawers in place because we like drawers. We're not big fans of cupboards and things. And drawers seem to make sense when you've got limited space. So that's what we're doing. So I'm going to get to sanding this down. It has that kind of junk shop smell about it. So we're going to sand it down, take off as much of the old varnish as we possibly can to help deal with that. It might not get rid of it entirely, but it should get rid of it a little bit. But we've been wanting to do this job for eons, donkey's years, millennia, forever and ever and ever. And because I think it would be a really nice job, and I think it'll be fairly hard work, but really interesting. What's nice about this, and what this is the sad, there's going to be like the little sad bit I think about it, is that once we've done all the sanding, we'll end up taking off all the marks from the original maker, so pencil marks and things, and face marks on the backs of the drawers and stuff like that, which is a little bit sad because you can see where he's lined up where the doors would go. We've blown the bloody doors off! Okay, no, I've took them off. So what we're doing is we're taking off any bits that we actually don't need for the unit. So there was a shelf inside, we've taken that out, we've taken the doors off, we're taking the catches for the doors off, just to make it a bit easier for us when we come to do the actual sanding and cleaning and stuff. And so also when we come to fit the drawers, it's easier, it's much easier for us. So this is a 40 grit, and you can tell it's a 40 grit because it's kind of really rough, and that's okay because this is not the final finish, but it's hot work, sticky work, covered in sandy work. And I didn't even have the crappy job. Martin had the crappy job, which is down there. You did an amazing job of what you were doing. So two things. The reason that this job was easier to do on top, it's on top, it's a straight level, it's a powerful sander, much more powerful than the little Roby, and the Roby is a fairly powerful sander, and it's not particularly grubby work compared with this. This doesn't have any extraction. You can see my little fingerprints in the sand there. We have our very sophisticated extraction system where we rigged our little hoover up to the extraction of this. It does have one of those little sort of dust collector things, but it's a bit rubbish, kept getting in the way. This is actually much cleaner, much more sensible, especially when we're dealing with finishes that we don't know what's in them. It's a pleasure to work when you're doing this. I would hate to have been doing what Martin was doing. So I'm going to take over from him in a minute with this in there. Oh, you left all the marks on. Oh, thank you. Bring it out. And I just, you know, go down a few grades and work it out that way. Things have changed a little bit since yesterday, in fact. And so what happened was, yesterday, do you remember yesterday when we said this is what we were going to do with this sideboard? We were going to convert it into a kitchen unit, we were going to inset a sink, we were going to turn it into drawers, and it was all cool and exciting, and we were super excited by this. At the time we bought it, we saw that there was a maker's mark on the back, and we looked that up, we googled that, we couldn't find anything about this maker's mark. Yesterday, out of curiosity, I googled it again and found the Gordon Russell Design Museum, where we found lots of these examples of these sideboards for considerably more money than £15. So we thought, well, we can't convert this into a sink unit. So originally we were going to have the sideboard on this side, and on the other side we were going to have super modern units. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the sideboard on this side. We're going to finish it off. We're not going to do anything else to it. We're going to put all the shelvings back in, we're going to put the doors back on, we're going to sand it down to a fine finish, and then finish it with some nice oils or varnish, and basically just tidy it up, because as you saw from the beginning of the video, it was a bit of a state, and then just put in these little built units, built drawers that we're going to put inside it, and use those drawers and keep it in as good a condition as we can keep it, because we like the idea that it's a lovely little bit of history, and that sounds interesting to us. And we're going to go to the museum. We're going to go up and have a look at it, and if we do, we might do a little video about that. What do you think, Martin? But I've got to get back to it because there's a lot more work to do to it now. It's not a matter of, you know, cleaning it down, getting rid of the old furniture smell and hacking it to pieces. Now it's a matter of having to put it back together and treat it a little more kindly. That looks amazing. Look at that. This total wood porn. Nearly done the first lot of sanding.
So after the final bits of sanding on this grip, what are you going to go up?
Up to? I think I'll do quite a big jump and go to about 100, 150. Probably about 150. And then do a final at about 300, something like that. The 40 grit was really about getting the varnish off, because the other grits weren't really touching it. And so the rest of it now is about bringing the grain out.
And then there's the doors and the drawers to do.
Doors and the drawers, yeah. Put the shelf back in. Got to do the shelf as well.
Oh yeah.
I don't really want to do the shelf because it looks so nice as it is.
Bring it out. Let's have a look.
But look at that side.
Mm.
I mean that. 80 grit. Just to take up a little bit more. One of the things that we needed to do with Mr. Russell was to take the varnish off of the veneer on the drawers and the doors. So we did a little bit of research, and we found that the best way to take the varnish off was using a cabinet scraper. I like using cabinet scrapers. There's something really nice about the kind of little micro shavings that they take off. But this was something I'd not done before, and I had to be really, really careful because it is very, very easy to go too deep, even with a cabinet scraper, and cut into the veneer or take too much of the veneer off. So I was really, really careful with it, particularly on the ends. I had to be very careful because it was quite a fragile veneer as well. There was some damage to it. In some places I had to replace some of the veneer and repair them, and in other places I had to kind of colour in the veneer because it was too fine a crack in the damage. Take back the wood to a level where it was clean again, and then sand it with very, very fine sanding paper, and then oil it. One of the drawers was just a plain simple drawer, but the other drawer was obviously a canteen drawer for cutlery. So traditionally canteens used to be lined with felt. I remember my Granny Williams had a canteen drawer that had felt in it. This was brown felt. It's wool felt, and the thing about wool felt as opposed to the kind of modern plastic felts that we get is that it breaks up very, very easily. But it also is very, very porous, so when you apply glue to it, it will stick really well. But because it's natural wool, trying to get it off is a nightmare. So Martin did this bit while I was doing most of the woodworking, and it was really kind of, well, you can see very sort of decayed and falling to pieces. It took him ages to scrape it and pull it off, and really kind of getting in there. By the end of it, he had to use water just to get the remnants of the glue and the rest of the felt off. But it was, it's that kind of awful animal-based glue that they would have been using.
Is this the first coat?
Yeah.
How many does it need?
About 3. I've got a bit of a production line going because I've done the doors, and this is the first drawer, and I've got the next drawer over there, and there's the shelf. So I'm doing all the sort of extra bits that need to be put back into the cabinet before I tackle the cabinet.
Tomato.
This is the last bit of finishing work that needs to be done before we can put this cabinet back together. Basically, I have my finishing oil that I used on the doors and the drawers. You saw photos of it earlier, and I'm going to give it 3 coats. Generally it's been finished to 400 grit. Some of it has been finished to 320 because it didn't need to be super, super shiny. I didn't want to go any higher than 400. It's shiny enough at 400, it looks nice. This is the finishing oil we're going to apply. I've already done the doors and the drawers and the shelf, and I gave them 3 coats, so I'm hoping this is going to just need 3 coats as well. The more you put on, the shinier it gets, and I like sort of a sheen to things, but I don't like super, super shiny. So this is what we're going to do. You apply it with a rag, a lint-free rag or cloth, and then you wait 10 minutes, and then you wipe off any excess before it gets super sticky. And then you wait 5 hours, and you do the next coat. Now it's about 8:30, something like that. There is no way I'm getting up at 1:30 in the morning to do another coat on Mr. Russell. It will go very dark. You'll see how dark it goes in a minute. Oh wow, look how dark that is. What's nice about this kind of finish, rather than a varnish, is you really just can get in there, and you don't have to worry about streaks and things like that. God, you can see how quickly it absorbs. You just slap it in there, and then you go in the direction of the grain. I've not really done this before. Sorting out a sideboard like this. First coat on. This is coat 2. We're going to flip him and we're going to put coat 3 on. It's so smooth. I'm a little bit worried about putting too much on, but then you can take it off, you can't. There's no point in skimping with it.
Let yourself go, as long as you know you'll always be one of the family. Hey, take it away, look at the day, you know that it runs in the family. You and I
Got the little pins, got the little sort of escutcheon thing. To bear in mind that this is going to be a bit tighter than last time because of the varnish. And I used this little thing because it's quite a nice fit for the head. We had two options. We could either take a couple of, well, about a centimetre maybe, not quite a centimetre, off of the bottom of this sideboard. I was really reluctant to do that for lots of reasons. One, I don't know that I'm confident enough to cut the feet off the sideboard and it not wobble. I've not done 4 legs before, I've only done 3. And also it's a really lovely sideboard, really nicely designed, and its balance might have been kind of thrown out a little bit if we took any height off the legs. But then when we were looking at it today, and the amount that we really need to take off is much, much less than we thought. Because of how this is going to be configured with its splashback and things like this, is we were just going to take some wood off the plywood to be able to fit it in, because there's enough space underneath here to fit this in. The only thing that's stopping it is this panel. We've got some wiring behind here, so I'm a little bit worried about that. So we might jigsaw to so far and then just use a handsaw there so we can control it a bit better. We've cut a little bit off, yeah? So now we're going to try and fit my store in place. The sewing of the ply was it was easier than we thought it was going to be, and it's a fairly straight line. It's not, you know, freehand jigsaw, it wasn't so bad. And Martin did some brilliant hand sewing that I don't think we videoed, but he did.
This corner needs to come off a bit.
A bit more on that corner.
Yeah. It's too close. So we just have a little bit of rasping to do underneath, about there, and right at the end here, just to give it that extra bit of clearance.
So this bit's where the metal is.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
Behind here is a metal strut, and when we were sewing, we hit it with the jigsaw because we didn't realise it was quite as far out as it was. So we hit it with the jigsaw, bent the blade, and then broke a blade. So that was fun. I've never hung the door before. So if we put it in place, it slots.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't it? Yeah.
I'm the doorman.
Oh, God.
Don't worry, we'll cut that one out.
Yeah. So that the door will hang better, it's catching at the bottom down here. We're just taking a little bit out of the hinge, the kind of groove where the hinge is. I don't know what it's called. I'm sure it's got some technical term. And we're just taking a little bit of the wood out so that the door can kind of come back a little bit. And because clearly at the minute what's happening, it's sort of sitting like that in this frame. It's sitting more like that, and so it's dragging down at the front here when we try and close it, and we need it just to be back a little bit so that it is straighter. And so we'll put it back on, see what it's doing, take it off, take off some more if we need to. Just keep on doing the process until the door hangs right.